Bronze and Modern Gods, that's what the logo says. That's what the show is. I'm John.
I'm Richard.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We have a fun-filled, packed show. I don't know. It's going to be a show, right?
It's filled with fun and packed with entertainment. How about that?
Almonds and nougat. The heck is nougat? I always heard nougat. And I'm like,
Nougat.
oh,
Mm.
nothing sounds as appetizing as nougat. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods if you're not doing so already. If you're watching us on YouTube, we would truly appreciate it if you liked this video. If you have subscribed, we thank you for it. If you have not, what the hell's wrong with you? Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. And a reminder, Richard and I will be at Baltimore Comic-Con this weekend, September 8th, 9th, and 10th. And we will be live streaming from our sponsors booth, Wacom. They are our gracious sponsor, and they're doing all sorts of great stuff for us. Hey, if you want to support us, download Wacom today. It's great for comic book and manga readers. Richard, manga readers too.
Manga readers especially. This app is designed for people who want to track their collection or track the books that they're looking to read, they're currently reading, and it has a great social feature in it that allows you to share your collections with your friends, be able to see what they're reading, and just generally enjoy the hobby together.
And the best part, it's free to try. You can follow me on Wacom at John_Hughes.
And I'm ChronoSafe on Wacom.
So download it from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store today. Stop by the Wacom booth at Baltimore Comic-Con, say hi, and we can dish about the hot book of the week, Richard.
Yeah, I think they should just do this on a weekly basis. This week's it's Gnort's Illustrated Swimsuit Edition, number 1, specifically the 1 in 25 variant.
Oh, why
It's
is
got
that?
it's because it's beautiful. It's got an excellent cover art by Pablo Villalobos. It is gorgeous, and um, I
I like
think it's
it.
going to
I,
start a
I like
trend.
I like a good one piece. That's not too,
Yeah,
it's kind of classy.
it is.
It's already selling for $75 on eBay.
Yeah,
And
and
Richard,
there's also a Will Jack Virgin variant featuring our favorite buxom lady, Power Girl.
I bet you will, Jack. Sets of the Will Jack Virgin and trade dress are going for around $85 on eBay. This is, to me, just great fun. It reminds me of when Marvel would do the Marvel swimsuit magazine every
Mhm.
summer in the 90s. It was Babes and Beefcake. It was equal measure. I think one of my favorite Marvel Illustrated swimsuit edition pictures was of Ghost Rider on the beach, and it's like a bag of bones.
Yeah, both Marvel, DC, Independence. It seems to be one of those perennial things. They put out these swimsuits editions. There is always a number 1, but there's rarely a number 2. So I'm hoping that this starts some kind of trend. With the Will Jack pair, I use my rule of thumb: if there's a Virgin variant and a trade dress variant, tread cautiously, because the value of the Virgin is slightly higher than the trade dress, but it's never going to be astronomical. So while it's a good looking cover, don't expect to retire or pay for the kids' college with this book.
Will Jack pair. All right, I'll stop. Uh, Dad jokes aplenty. Come see him at Baltimore Comic Con yourself in person.
Yeah, come throw your vegetables at him in person.
They pelted me with rocks and garbage. Okay, moving on to show and tell. Before we go to show and tell, Richard, I want to talk a little bit about a show I went to here locally today, recording this on Saturday. It was Long Beach Comic Con. Oh, Richard, it was traditionally really a good show with lots of dealers and attendees. We've gone every year that it's happened for the last 10 years or so. Something was absolutely off this year. Very low attendance, maybe because it was raining this morning here in Southern California. That scared people away. Maybe it was the $40 price to get in.
Wow.
Yeah. It's funny because we got there and it's a giant convention center, Long Beach Convention Center, and they have a couple of exhibit halls. And they had the left side was the Comic Con. And the right side was Young LA, which is a fitness lifestyle brand. They had some sort of
Mhm.
convention there, and it was all juice heads and fitness models. We walked up, we were cracking up because it was literally jocks versus nerds in
Mhm.
this convention
Awesome.
center. It was like I was back in high school.
Did they come to blows?
Well, no, I think everybody just kind of like looked at each other like, "Oh, we're doing this again? I thought we grew past this." Uh, I will say some surprising dealers showed up that I did not expect to be a small show like this. Harley Yee was there.
Wow.
Um, the man behind the red hood, and one of my favorites, Ed Robertson. I love Ed. Ed made the trip from Arizona, and he was having what he called his retirement sale. He's done.
Wow.
He's getting out, and so it's just some great deals at his booth. I'll show off here in a second. But as you can see from this picture, Richard, we have an influence. I think there was somebody that was displaying a copy of Legends of the Stargrazers #6.
Wow.
I'd like to
A-list influencers, John.
I think it was 100% coincidence. I don't think we showed anybody anything they didn't already know about in that respect. But I have some books to show off. I got all these in a deal from Ed. Like I said, he was blowing stuff out. I almost kind of want to go back tomorrow to see how desperate everyone is, because if today was any indication, they're doing no business, and they
Wow.
might actually, yeah. But I needed a really, I don't know, my existing copy is this high grade, but it's Giant Size Invaders #1. I'm gonna do my magic here and see what I can get from that when I submit it in Baltimore this coming weekend. He also had this, and I've never actually seen one in the wild. Solar #10, the second.
Oh.
It's the second print
Mhm.
with the two there, and first time I've actually ever seen one. So I had to grab that, and I'm in a Valiant.
Yeah, so for the audience who are listening to the podcast, Solar number 10 is an all black cover embossed. So you really have to take John's word for it that it's number 2 because you can't see it.
It looks like the monolith from
It
2001.
does.
Dun, dun, dun. I want to throw a femur at it. Um, the My Valiant, I got to get my Valiants, the early Jim Shooter era Valiants. I don't know what's happened to me, but I'm picking them all up. I saw Harbinger Zero, the mail away pink
Oh,
edition,
the pink edition, yeah.
9.8 white pager. Could not resist that at the price.
Mhm.
And then to complete my Valiant strike for today, Magnus Robot Fighter #1,
Okay.
9.8 with the coupon included. All of these, the Magnus, the Harbinger Zero, the Invaders #1, and the Solar #10 second print were $450.
Oh, that's a steal.
The Harbinger alone was priced at
Mhm.
300, and
Yeah,
the last
the pink
GPA,
edition is yeah.
yeah, last GPA for that was 340. So definitely good deals from Ed. Thank you, Ed, and happy retirement. I hope everything goes well for you and you enjoy sitting on a beach with a tall boy. All right, what do you have?
Oh, in terms of just straight up things. Well, first of all, let me talk about our mutual friend Forrest and I went to a show here in the Cleveland area, and it was also really, really slow. So I don't know if that's a trend in the industry or if it's just seasonal, situational. But yeah, it was a concern because the dealers who were there, who were some of our friends, were talking about they were not seeing the traffic that they needed to see. Uh, but anyway, talking about books that I've acquired here, I haven't bought a whole lot into books recently because of plumbing expenses. We'll put it that way. I got a Turkish edition of Ultimate Fallout 4.
Nice.
So one of our readers has been gracious enough to point out some foreign editions of the book, and I struck on this Turkish edition, and so I'm
Was
on the
that
hunt for some other ones.
Ariel that let you tipped you off to that?
No, Ariel didn't tip me out to that one. It was one of the other readers in the YouTube channel.
Oh, nice. Thank you, whoever that was. Well, we've got some more books to show you in a few minutes as part of our favorite segment, Viewer Mail.
You've got
And
mail.
my first piece of viewer mail, Richard, comes from Ronan Kane here on YouTube. Longtime viewer, best show yet. One question, if you could answer, is I don't want to be forced to go somewhere else to find out the info. Uh, Referring to Bucky's books, selling those Spawn 306 Nether. I kept saying, I want to say Nether region variant. The world variant. He kept saying this shows the market value of the Spawn, but nobody mentioned a figure. I'm guessing without any info about $400 raw. What is it at the time you made the video? I kept waiting to hear the price. Any help even from anyone else? Your blurb says 250, but I thought he sold them for more. That's a good question, Ronan, and we should have hit that. That is a big miss on our part, and thanks for calling us out on it. They're all over the place. Is the answer. The 9.8s sold for over 1,000. He had some raws that were 9.2 ish. Those sold for about anywhere from 175 to 250, and then the ones that he said were near mint 9.4 or better, those tended to sell for about $400. So really, Ronan, they're all over the place depending on condition. That's the answer. All right, what do you got?
My first piece of viewer mail is also from YouTube. It's from Beer Marshal 2070. Another great show, guys. Thank you very much. A nice reminder of why I am not interested in specking on rare modern books. I love that Doom poster myself, but it's in the style of the blacklight posters that were all the rage when I and you guys were kids in the 70s.
How
I
dare you?
unfortunately I unfortunately don't have any of the posters I had back then anymore. And the couple that I really would like to replace go for a lot more than my budget will allow. Maybe I'm looking into the Doom thing. Yeah, I remember those posters, and they're speaking of Doom, there were some really good Doom posters. I've got one here signed by Jack Kirby on my wall. Um, so I do appreciate those posters, and I do remember the blacklight. That for anybody who didn't live through the late 70s and didn't have a black light and posters on your wall that glowed, you were a rarity. So yeah, I feel you, and that poster has that look. But it just wasn't for me. It just wasn't anything that I liked. So I don't mind that I missed it, especially with the prices that's going up now. If I wanted to get a copy off of eBay, it's over 250. And frankly, I would rather buy something else than that. I'm also out of wall space. That's one of my bigger problems. I don't have any place to put anything that's on the wall, So posters are. I've got a poster I bought from Alex Ross, and I'm sorry, not Alex, from Art Adams when we were at STCC. That's still in the tube because I can't find any place to put it.
Aw, you've got that new kitchen. Go right
Yeah,
up there.
my significant other would probably have words to say.
She won't mind. My next piece of your mail comes to our Gmail at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from David Powell, who writes, Hi, Richard and John. Really looking forward to Baltimore Comic Con next week and hopefully catching the live stream / meeting both of you in person whilst there. You should. Absolutely, David. Come up and say hi.
Mhm.
As you mentioned in your latest video, very interested to see what books you'll be submitting to CGC at Baltimore. I'll be submitting some recent UK price variant pickups, including a Hulk #1,
Uh,
FF12, and ASM number 1, 2, 13, 14, and 15, among many others. Look at these books, Richard.
Wow, that is an awesome collection. That's great, and share with us if you can when you get those back graded what grades they got, because I haven't seen a Hulk UK version before, so I'm really curious to see that. So yeah, let us know.
Do you think these are insanely undervalued? I
They,
do.
I do too. For some reason, because they have a P on it instead of a 10 cents or 12 cents, what have you, it's really valued less by the collectors. It's the same book for all intents and purposes. So and frankly, the number of books are graded for um, the UK variants is a fraction of what's graded for the US version. So I don't know why these don't have a greater value. I think it's just that bias against having the 10 cents on the cover.
The same print run with a black plate change.
Hmm.
The Golden Records reprints seem to get more respect than these, and I don't get it, David. I hope you get them slabbed. I hope they come back. Really, they look very. The Hulk looks amazing for a Hulk one. Yeah, I hope you get big grades, but I also want to thank David for kicking my butt personally, because you mentioned it first last week, Richard, that you wanted to show off what you're submitting, and then David asked in the mail, and I thought, you know what, good. That made me go to my submission piles and go through my books earlier than I would have, because normally I'm the worst procrastinator sometimes. I'll the night before a show, I'll be like, okay, I got to do my CGC stuff, and I'll just grab stuff that's like recent instead of really being strategic about it. So I went and I got some stuff, and I'm shocked at some of the stuff I'm going to submit that has not been submitted yet.
Hmm.
Richard, you'll be shocked too when you see what I show you. And viewers and listeners, knowing my taste, you're going to have the same reaction. Like, what do you mean you have not submitted this yet? Um, New Gods #1.
Oh, you don't have a New Gods
I don't
number
have a New
one?
Gods slabbed. I've had this forever.
Hmm.
I would say it's a good contender for a 9698. So
Wow, excellent.
that's going. Um, it's partner, Mr. Miracle #1.
Hmm.
Never submitted it. I haven't pressed this yet. I'm looking at it and I see pressable defects. This is how long I've had this Mr. Miracle #1 raw. I don't know whose price this is on the back, but here's the price where I bought it. I paid $49.99 for it. And look at how faded that price sticker is. It's been forever. So those two, and then the last one in my little trilogy here of I can't believe you haven't submitted these yet, John books. OMAC #1,
OMAC.
which is going to
Wow,
be this is going to be a 9.8, I think, for sure.
really? That white cover is tough.
Yeah, that's why it's been sitting here in my okay, I'll get to it pile. So thank you, David. That's just a taste. I don't want to monopolize all the time. Richard, show us three of yours, and we'll go back and forth.
Okay. Well, here's a book that I bought literally last year. Okay, almost to the day, and it's been sitting here instead of being graded. It is uh, Teenage Mutant Turtles #1. This is a second print, and it's in great shape. The only problem with it is this little tear there in the cover that is going to get dinged for. But other than that, it's in really good shape. Um, I pressed it, so it's ready to go. I have a Turtles #3, a third print 9.4, which actually got it's at CGC right now getting reholdered. So it actually showed up because it took a month for it to show up in the system. But anyway, so this is probably going to become my new copy, and the 9.4 will go up for sale because I've always wanted a second print, and there we go. Let's
Is
see
that
what else.
when you got that at a garage sale, right?
I got that at Big L's. The Big L and Chuck are two different garage sales that happen every Labor Day and every um, Memorial Day. And uh, our mutual friend Forrest and I frequent that every single year. And I got that at Big L's last year when he needed to part with it because he had some house things he needed to deal with. So, you know, we came to a good price, and I bought it at a point. Um, so yeah, let's
Nice.
see. Let's pull up one that is obvious that's going to go in. Now this is thanks to our friend Ariel. This is Zoot #11.
Nice.
I still need to clean this cover. It needs a good cleaning. And I have the bag and stuff I'm gonna clean it with. But I'm not expecting anything but more than a 1.5, maybe 1.8 out of this. It's the cover's detached. Um, the staples are a little rusty, but it's complete. I mean, the whole book is there, and it's other than the fact that the cover's detached and the staples are rusty, it's in great shape. So this is a keeper. I've been looking for that book. Thank you so much, Ariel, for helping me find it.
Clean her and bring her to me.
Next is another one of my favorites. This is Archie Comics #55. This is Uh, Veronica, did Archie get there yet? Not quite, Daddy. So this is one of the risque covers from Archie. It's just a great fun book. I'm a big fan of Archie, just especially their innuendo covers. So that one is gonna get slabbed.
All right. I've got other stuff that, again, I can't believe it's been sitting in my collection forever and I haven't submitted these. Sergeant Fury number 13, the Captain
Oh,
America and Bucky crossover issue. Super high grade specimen here. Uh,
nice.
Great Kirby cover and art. And talking about high grade Sergeant Furies, this is nothing specific. It's just so high grade, and you never see these in this high of grade. Number 97 picture frame cover. I mean, it's gorgeous.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can see the spine there.
yeah, looks great.
And so I thought, let's see if this comes back a 9.4, 9.6, or a 9.8. One of those three. And then I stumbled. This is stuff that's been in my collection for years in boxes that I just haven't submitted. Tales of Suspense, number 75, first Peggy Carter.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, why haven't you submitted that?
This is because I file it, under T, Tales of Suspense, and it sits there
Mhm.
instead of going into my submission box where here's the stuff I've cleaned and pressed and I'm going to submit it. This is before I was really heavy into submitting stuff, and so I would just like those New Gods and Mr. Miracles I've had forever, and like, oh, I should probably get those slabbed. You have another three?
Yeah. Also, books that I have had forever. Here is Fantastic Four number 9.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been sitting in my box. I would love. My goal is to get Fantastic Four 1 through 10, and I have a Golden Record reprint number 1. I have 2, 3, 4, 5, missing 6, missing 8. Now I have 9. So it's got to get 10, and I will be going.
Nice.
Next one, we talked about this one last week, Alter Ego, number 7. This is the Black Adam cover, and this book is in really good shape. It's probably going to be 4.55 because of some cover damage on it.
Yeah, that one
That's
needs press. I mean, it's damaged, but it will benefit from a press. I've
yeah,
seen that.
yeah. So, and then third book, I've had this book for over a year. I just love this cover. Tank Girl,
Ah,
Tank Girl with her big missile bra. Can't can't go wrong with her. She's so over the top and so overly over the hypersexuality. She just embraces it. So great book. And this one's probably a 9.6. It's not a 9.8. There's some ticks, but
ah.
I want it graded because it's one of my favorite characters.
All right. My next three, I've got not one, but two copies of Invaders
Oh,
number one. Speaking of
oh,
Invaders, I just got that giant size today. Here's
right.
the number one of the regular issue. So I'm going to submit them both, and the winner will have the privilege of staying in my PC, and I will sell the other one. Uh, and then again, going through boxes I've had for years and years, you discover things that you just completely forgot you had. I don't even remember buying this, Richard. I don't know when I bought it. Glad I did. Captain Atom 83, the first appearance of Blue Beetle.
Oh, nice.
Introduced as a backup in Captain Atom.
I'm trying to remember if you bought that when I was with you because it seems
Maybe it
familiar.
had to be a few years ago because this
Yeah.
is a super hot book right now because of the
Mhm.
movie.
Right.
Uh, and I can't imagine myself paying movie spec prices for this book. Uh, and I've been buying all these Captain Atoms anyway.
Hmm.
And I forgot. I thought, oh, it's on my list, but I'm going to wait for the movie to die and then pick one up. No, I have one, and it's for a Charlton. Man, it's like a 9.9. It's probably going to come back. It's probably going to be back at 8.5 or so, but for a Charlton, it's like a 10. Um, and my third one of this round is Amazing Adventures number 2. Just
Nice.
finishing out my Dr. Droom run. Richard, your favorite early Marvel superhero, Dr.
Yes,
Doom.
Dr. Doom.
And you get rid of one R and you have your favorite villain.
Yeah.
All right. Any more?
Oh yeah. I got more here. All right. So I talked about Turtles #1, second print. I've been looking for this book for a while. Turtles #1, fifth print. This
Mm-hmm.
a nice. This is a comic book size as opposed to the magazine size for the others. Um, it's one of those books that, like I said, I've been looking for, and this one is minty. So there's a blunt corner down here, um, but other than that, it is in great shape. So I'm gonna send that in.
Cool.
Let's see, and then we've got this book, Cerebus #2.
Don't have to
Uh,
worry about it being counterfeit.
yeah, it's right. Don't have a Cerebus #1, even a counterfeit. Um, so here is this book is it was cracked. And they actually included the blue label with it when I bought it, and it was
Mm.
an 8.0. And I was like, okay. So it can use a press, so I'm going to press it, and we'll see what it comes
Is it
back.
gonna come back in 8.0 or worse?
Uh I really think it's a 7.5.
Yeah.
Those black covers are tough.
You
The,
had you
the
had the look on your face that it was a gift grade.
I think it was. And last, I got this book from Heritage. This was an afterthought when I bought um, Marvel Family Comics back. Well, no, it wasn't from Heritage. I
No,
can't
that was
remember
from
what else I bought. Yeah, I bought another book from Heritage, and this one I got for like $80, which means I
wow.
paid 50 for it plus eight. All the fees that they charge. This is just a JoJo book. This is a book from 1940. Um, 1949.
Mm.
So just it's for those on the podcast. It's a nice bikini book cover. Um, you got a girl wearing a bikini being dragged off by an indigenant, and and there's a white man with a spear in the background coming to save her.
Hey,
We
don't blame
talked.
the indigenous people. It's their language.
We've talked the whole racism thing, but
Yeah.
um, I like the covers, and
Yeah.
these books, 1949, they're tough. They're tough to come in grade, and this book is probably three at best. It's not in great shape, but I'm looking to start moving into Golden Age and collecting Golden Age because
Me too. What's wrong
before
with
it's
us?
unobtainium.
Does that happen when you get older? Is that you just slowly move into golden age?
I think you've seen everything Silver Age has to offer you. It's like, yo, gee, look, another Submariner appearance. That's great.
You have a little
Um,
money, the thrill of the hunt.
It is. It is. Golden Age. You got Golden Age and you got Pulp. Yeah, can go one of those two directions. I chose to go Golden Age because Pulp is just too darn expensive.
Yeah. I have a few more. You guys have seen these, but just to complete it, Cap 180 First Nomad that I got at Neo Comic Con. That's going to go. Richard and I both got this book at Neo Comic Con. Submariner 57,
Hmm.
first Venus in the Bronze Age. That's going to go. And I have only two books that I'm having slabbed that are not for my PC. These are to sell. And one of these is one I got in San Diego Comic Con with you, Richard. That is Uncle Scrooge 295
Yeah.
with what's his name? Umbi Zombie, something like that. The band book.
Hmm.
And this will be a 9.8 slam dunk. And I showed this off a few weeks ago, X-Men #6 that I happened to see at the LCS here. And why not slab it, sell it?
Yep.
Any more?
I got a couple. And these are modern books. I'm pretty much done with pressing and grading modern books graded, just because unless it's for the PC, right?
Yeah.
So I've got these are an exception. These are probably going to go up for sale because I've already have them in the PC. So here's Spider Gwen #25. I just love this. I'm never really a big fan of these homage covers. And for those on the podcast, we've got Gwenom, who is the Gwen version of Venom, standing on top of Spider Gwen in that classic Spider-Man cover. I can't remember the issue number for
ASM 314.
314. Thank you very much. It's just gorgeous. This is a second print, so yeah, this is a second printing to get this cover. I've always loved this cover. I've got it in my PC. I came across another copy of it, and it's minty, definitely very sharp. I'm going to get this one graded.
Great.
And then finally, for those fans of Star Wars stuff, I've been collecting this book. This is the first appearance of well, this is Star Wars Adventures. You've got the Star Wars Rebels team on the cover. It's first cover appearance of Hondo, the guy right here. But you've got Ezra Bridger on here, who is a character in the Ahsoka Tano series. This is a incentive variant, and it is pretty difficult to come by. So I've got one in the PC, and I've been sitting on this one for a while. I'm going to get it graded and put it up for sale.
All right, fantastic. Well, there you go. Long-winded answer for you, David. But hopefully you enjoyed seeing what we're going to show off. And Richard, you have a piece of your mail next.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we tapped into the old people on the, which is fine because that's our demographic. This is from Glenn Simpson 3687. Hey Richard, I got a Commodore 64 from a school contest when I was a kid. You lucky guy.
Really?
Uh, didn't do much with it for like a year or two, but eventually found a word processing program and disk drive, and that enabled me to make a list of my comics. Wow, that is innovative. And I then spent the next 40 years or so learning to use computers and software to keep track of my comics and ended up working in IT myself. By the way, that X-Men 130 being a newsstand wouldn't be a big deal because most of them were, right? Yeah, that's, there's that sliding scale of value for newsstands depending on the age. The older it gets, the less um, rare they are. So absolutely. Yeah, that's great. I started off back in the same era, and I I never had the thought of keeping track of my comics. Again, at the time, I was less of a collector than a reader. Um, I did, I took care of my comics back then, but I read them and I put them in the box, and then I may reread them once or twice, but for the most part, I wasn't really that interested in keeping track of them. So using my computer to do that just never came to my mind. And like you, I've took my computer skills and turned it into a career. I write mobile apps for a living and websites and other things computer related. And it's that geekdom that I had back in the '80s has turned into a very profitable career, and I'm really happy and thankful for it. So yeah, it's amazing. I think the people who were interested in computers back then and actually found utility for them. Um, a lot of those people have turned it into marketable skills, and I am so glad I had the opportunity. So thanks for the comments. I appreciated the walk through memory lanes with those old 1980s computers.
My poor TI 99 4A. My last piece of viewer mail comes from our good friend Timothy Markin, who writes, in my reference to having to watch Hee Haw as a kid, did you guys know that Charlton did a Hee Haw comic? Oh, don't I know it?
Your favorite book?
That's by the way, that's my tribute to Norm Macdonald and Weekend Update. Hee Haw #1 right here. I think this is another one I'm going to submit because this is like a really high grade copy for a
Really?
Charlton. I mean,
That
look,
that looks awesome.
yeah, look, there's Buck and
Hmm.
there's Grandpa and Lulu and Roy and Dog, I guess. Yes. Back to Timothy's email. It ran for 7 issues in 1970 to 1971 and had short stories and gags. Charlton also published 13 issues of a black and white magazine for Hee Haw that featured photos from the show. I do own a couple issues of the comic. Charlton expanded their line in 1970 with Hanna-Barbera series and licensed comics like High and Lois and Snuffy Smith. Lots of hard to find stuff. Yes, Timothy, I dabbled in Charlton licensed stuff, as you can see. Um, I think I used to own the Ronald McDonald comic that they did. They did a comic
Oh
with
wow,
Ronald.
really?
Yeah, nothing like advertising disguised as entertainment.
Making
Uh,
money.
yeah. So Timothy, yes, I sure have heard of the Hee Haw comic. Think of my dad every time I see this comic book. So I'm going to take that to Baltimore and get it slabbed as well. All right. And what's your last piece of viewer mail?
My last piece of viewer mail is also a YouTube comment. It's from Zach Kriegel, 2931. Another great watch. Thank you. I know they are separate entities, but I feel that the MCU movies have kind of ruined Marvel Comics. I was reading almost every title Marvel put out, but before the movies started, and I slowly have dropped every title and only read DC now. I feel that DC still has a greater focus on the comics and are pulling out great reads week after week. I know I was conflicted with my answer for this particular comment. Uh, I believe that the MCU has done a great benefit to comics by bringing in a whole bunch of readers who had either abandoned the hobby or had just no real interest in it. I mean, the MCU brought people interested in Thor and Iron Man, and um, that was and still is an incredible feat. And we as a hobby have reaped the benefits of that. But at the same time, the MCU, especially recently, has had some rather mediocre performance, and I think it's not drawing in the number of people that it did in when let's say Endgame around that period. I think that was kind of the peak that we saw the benefit from the MCU. Now, as far as the comics being affected by the MCU, I mean, to some degree, I think it is. But I think this Marvel in general, their comics has lost a lot of its focus. And what I mean by that is instead of being focused on stories, they're focused on story arcs for the purpose of making money. And that when your focus is not telling a good story, but it's we need to generate buzz around this character so that we can draw in and sell more copies of this book. Um, when that is your motivation, as opposed to we want to tell the best story that we can about this character, it's everything suffers. And I feel, like you, I've kind of drifted away from Marvel. I think a lot of the storylines recently are just are challenging to really get engaged with, and some of their tactics with multiple covers and virgin and trade dress and then another trade dress and then another virgin. It gets to the point where we're not focusing on promoting the story. We're promoting the story arc to sell comics. And I understand Marvel's a business, and you got to make money to continue to be a business. But I feel that they're not as together as they need to be to continue moving forward. But I don't blame the MCU for that, at least not directly. How do you feel, John?
I have Zach. Why do you blame the MCU for the comics being bad? Is it because you think the comics are reflecting the movies? Because that's not the case at all. I read the X-Men. They're gods that live on an island and has nothing to do with the movies.
Mhm.
So I'm a little confused by that line. Um, Also, Marvel is really, really good, and DC is too. They're both guilty of giving you plenty of opportunities to stop. Um, okay, here's the end of this relaunch. We're going to cancel the book and start the renumbering. All right,
Mhm.
here's the end of this long storyline in this event. You can hop off now. There's no reason to come back on. I mean, Cap, I hopped off.
Mhm.
They made him a Hydra agent, and I was like, bye. Um, I know that was part of a longer storyline, but don't even get me started on that. There's so many things wrong with, both of his creators being Jewish and then making their creation a Nazi, even if it is
Mhm.
temporary. Just rub me the
But
wrong way.
and I think that supports. I was talking about story arcs. That's what they do. They push a story until they feel that the sales are trailing because it's reached issue, I don't know, 10, and they decide to reboot everything and start back with issue number one. And uh, doing that once in a while is okay, but doing it on a regular basis to the point where you have to have legacy numbering on the cover to tell people what issue, what book in the series this is, that's a problem. I think that is a symptom or a sign of the problem that Marvel is facing.
And there's just dumb things that are, it was obviously done from a fan perspective, not a professional writer's perspective. Uh, that oh, Savage Avengers. It'll be an Avengers team with Conan, Wolverine, Punisher, Venom, and Elektra. That's like me in my bedroom when I'm 12 years old, drawing my own comic, that features all my
Right.
favorites. It's just dumb. I mean, it's dumb. DUMB. So I don't know. Blaming the MCU is a good thesis statement. I think also, Richard, I would also challenge York's statement that it brought a lot of new readers into comics. Where are they? I don't see them. I see me and you.
Well, maybe readers may brought more interest because I think people
Yeah.
have invested in comics because of the MCU.
Yeah.
I don't know if necessarily they
Okay.
are reading, but they are a part of the hobby in their own way.
Yeah. If comic book stores had 1/100th of a percentage of the revenue and sales that these movies generate, we'd have they'd be like Starbucks. There'd be one on every corner, and that's just
Yeah.
not happening. Boy, do we sound like a couple of old farts. Hey, it's the old fart rule. Talk about lazy writing. You picked it. You do it.
Yeah, I picked this one. Avengers number 228, back from Marvel from back in 1983. This issue was called Trial and Error. This is when Hank Pym
He's
is
Henry.
up on. Oh, I guess it is Henry. Yeah, yeah, he's up for trial for treason. So he's facing trial, and Egghead and the Masters of Evil want to spring him for jail and make it look like it was Pym's idea because Egghead wants to use Pym, wants to manipulate him. So the Avengers clash with the Masters of Evil. I just love these super villain team names. I think they're
I know what
awesome.
we'll call ourselves. We'll call ourselves the Masters of Evil because
Yes,
we think what we're truly doing is evil, and we have mastered it.
you're just the masters of hubris. That's what you are.
Yes.
So the Avengers, they fight the Avengers, and it's a classic hero team versus villain team battle that you used to have back in the day. And they actually lose to the Avengers lose mainly because Radioactive Man drains the radiation out of She-Hulk, throwing the balance of power. Um, they kidnap Pym and Pym is convinced that now his name is completely mud because he's escaped um, from custody, and so he gets enlisted in one of Egghead's schemes. Like this is to me, this is like the kind of meat and potatoes from comics from the '80s. These kinds of storylines. So I enjoy this. This book though isn't really that valuable. There are actually 9.9s of this book according to the GPA, and they go for about $130-ish for a 9.9.
Wow.
That's amazing. 9/8 go for about 80. There are only 62 books on the census for this, so it's not a book that is common. But I think it's not that there aren't any more books because people just aren't interested in this. But again, I see this as kind of the stereotypical villain versus heroes battle and a good example of it. So if you like that kind of stuff, this storyline is pretty cool.
I don't think it's a surprise. It's written by one of our favorite writers, Jim Shooter. Um, and here I am showing off early Valiants, and you love Legion of Superheroes, and here you're
Mhm.
talking about his second Avengers run. not as good as his first Avengers run, I have to
Mhm.
say, with Michael and Korvac and all that. Um, this, just the complete pooping on Henry Pym. Uh, he is kind of a loser character at this point in the Marvel Universe history, but boy, making him a domestic abuser,
Mhm.
Jim, not your best. Um, Exciting. I couldn't wait for each issue. I have to admit, kept me on.
Yep.
Don't know if it ages well. Um,
Yeah, and again, I think the stories from that era, we were in a transitional period, and from the Age of Innocence, which I consider the '60s and the '70s, with the Legion and these teams, superhero teams, are more like the Boy Scouts or some kind of uh, club. To when they turned dark and edgy, and they became more like SWAT teams, and and I
well,
think this is kind of in that cusp.
it's also situational. All writing is situational. Let's be honest. If you want a story to go a certain way, you're the writer. You can control it. Here you have the team lineup is so weak without She-Hulk that they're
Right.
easily defeated. But just a few issues prior, they're fighting the Molecule Man, and Tigra ends up winning the day for them. So there's that. I don't know what that means, but I just thought I'd point that out. Hey, underrated books of the week. Richard, this cover gives me nightmares. It's creepy.
It is quite creepy. I'm sorry. I came across this. Okay. So I guess we're doing my book first.
Yes.
My book is Life with Archie, number 37. This is in 2014. This is an Alex Ross cover. I have never seen this style from Alex. Alex does this hyper realistic style. He does the cover for Life with Archie. It's a shot from underneath with Jughead, Archie, Veronica, and Betty. And man, it's not hyper real. It's kind of the surreal kind of look to it.
It's
And
David Lynchian nightmare fuel.
yeah, it is kind of creepy. But if you're an Alex Ross fan, this is probably going to be a fun book to collect because it's inexpensive. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Um, Life with Archie ran for there were two series. There's one back in 1958 through 1991. This series ran from 2010 to 2014. And like I said, this is the final issue. In the previous issue, issue number 36, Archie is killed saving Kevin Keller, who was running for senator, saving his life. It's killing Archie. So obviously the series ending was planned. Um, Issue 37 takes place a year later. When they're kind of celebrating Archie's legacy, they changed the name of Riverdale High to Archie Andrews High School. It's kind of a darker, not as dark as Afterlife, but it's this is the Archie clan grown up and they're adults and married and it's definitely kind of the closure, I think, of one, at least one version of the closure of the storyline. So it's to me, this book, you're collecting it for the cover because you're an Alex Ross fan. Or if you are a fan of Archie, it's again, it's the last book of the series. Raws go for $5 to $10. They're pretty cheap on eBay. The last 9/8 sold in July for $25. So not too expensive. I think this is, if you're interested in Archie's, or if you're interested in Alex Ross covers. He did not do another Archie comic cover, at least not that I can find. And so if you want to see Alex Ross' interpretation of the Archies, this is the book.
It'll scar you.
uh,
Be
and I see
ready.
you picked a book that I probably should have picked.
I don't know if you even know about this. It is Fantastic Four number 500, the director's cut variant. This is a foil cover variant of Fantastic Four 500 from the 2000s, featuring Doctor Doom. A foil cover in the 2000s featuring Doctor Doom. Where's Richard and what have you done with him?
Yeah, I was not. I know of these director cuts, but I don't. I've never collected them.
This is when Marvel was doing those director cut variants of anniversary issues, and they had like extra behind the scenes material and different covers, just like a DVD director's cut kind of thing. The crazy thing about this book, besides the beautiful Waringo art and the Mark Waid story inside, raws are $5 on eBay. A CGC 9.8 sold in June for a whole whopping 62 doll hairs. A CGC 9.9, speaking of 9.9s, sold in 2018 for $123. Richard, do you even have this cover?
I do not. I do remember seeing it, but I don't have a copy of it. No.
Do you like it or do you think it's too cartoony?
I think it's too cartoony, at least for my taste.
I figured.
Yeah.
I think so too. The hood and the mask, it's a little too wacky. I love where Ringo. This is, I don't know. He needed a less cartoony approach for Doom.
Yeah. Doom should inspire some fear or at least a pause. This face does not do either.
Do you know what this story is about? It was a 4-part story called Unthinkable. Doom decides to turn his back on technology and really embrace his sorcery side.
Hmm.
And that's where he comes up with this plan to defeat the Fantastic Four using sorcery as opposed to all of his techno doodles. So I've never read it. I hear great things about this run, despite the meddling of Bill Jemas, the publisher at the time, who eventually drove both these guys off the book. They're like, you know what? F this. We're out of here. FF this. Get it? Because it's Fantastic Four. No more dad jokes. No more. It's come to the end of the show. I promise. No more dad jokes until we see you at Baltimore Comic Con this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And say hi, hit subscribe, hit like, and we'll see you then. Thanks, Richard.
Thanks, John, and everybody. Stay safe.